Today I'm making stewed oxtail. This is a recipe inspired by our Jamaican neighbors in the Caribbean. The only difference is that Trinis burn their sugar from scratch instead of using browning from the bottle, and I love using fresh ingredients. This recipe requires a few simple fresh ingredients: oxtail, lemon or lime for washing the oxtail, green seasoning, onion, tomato, ketchup, hot pepper and pimento pepper, brown sugar, celery, carrots. Then there's pimento seeds, red bell pepper and thyme. First, trim any excess fat from the oxtail. Wash with the juice of a lime or lemon. You can soak it for a couple of minutes. Rinse several times with running water and drain. Burning sugar is usually the starting point of our stews, our famous pilau, and some soup dishes. It is not burnt like the color of charcoal, but it is merely a method used to develop the sugar to the right color, to add color and an exceptional depth of flavor. Stewing of meat using burnt sugar is believed to be a West African cooking style brought to the Caribbean by the African immigrants. I have added the sugar to the oil, and some don't use oil. It's up to you. And now I'm allowing the sugar to froth, bubble, expand, and darken. Once it begins to darken and the bottom starts to look like the color of browning, it's time to add your seasoned meat. I'm going to add a little bit of ketchup at this point, a trick or tip I learned from my sister-in-law who makes the most amazing stew chicken. I'm adding the meat at this point, but I'm not going to stir it because I wanted the ketchup to cook a little more so that it's no longer ketchup. I'm going to stir it for a minute or two to thoroughly coat it. Then I'm going to cook it on high for 5 minutes, stirring frequently. I'm going to cover and cook it for 10 to 15 minutes to allow the meat to release its natural juices. At this point, I'm going to add the carrot, the celery, the red bell pepper, thyme, and pimento seeds. At this point, you have two options. Continue to cook it until all the liquid has evaporated. Cook for 1 to 2 minutes more to develop the flavors, then add enough water to cover and cook for 2 to 3 hours until tender or to your preference. The second option is to cook it in a pressure cooker. I'm using my Instapot because it cooks in only 35 minutes. If the meat has released a lot of liquid, there is no need to add any additional, but if not, add water, broth, or coconut milk.
Uh-huh.
35 minutes later and your oxtails are done. The most delicious, tender oxtails you've ever had in your life in such a short time. I like releasing the pressure, but this usually happens for itself, but I just couldn't wait today. If it doesn't have enough sauce for you, place it back in a pot, add 1 to 2 cups of water, bring to a boil and simmer for 5 to 10 minutes until the sauce thickens. More liquid means that it will require more salt, so add salt to your liking.